Archangel Michael says, this is not a joke. It's an emergency. God says, this person ordered your death. You need to know before it's too late. Archangel Michael says, the alarm has already been sounded and this moment is not a rehearsal. The hour has broken open like thunder over a silent valley, and what was hidden is now standing in the light. God says, the plot has been recorded, the names have been taken, and the arrow aimed at your life has been snapped in two. Archangel Michael says, you will not be taken by surprise because your spirit has been nudged all week. You felt a strange chill around familiar corridors and a heaviness that you could not explain. That heaviness was a warning, and this message is the unveiling. God says, there is a person who thought your silence meant defeat. Their confidence grew in the shadows and they mistook your stillness for surrender. They moved ahead to secure an order against your life, but heaven moved faster. Archangel Michael says, listen closely and hold steady. I stand in the doorway of your timeline and I forbid entry to any violence written against you. The decree on your life is being rewritten in blazing gold. God says, your breath is guarded and your purpose is under watch. The weapon form in secret rooms has met a wall of fire it cannot pass. The signature on that dark instruction is dissolving like ink and rain. Archangel Michael says, you have walked through many rooms where your name was spoken without love. You sensed it and held your tongue, trusting a larger hand. A trust becomes a shield now, and the shield becomes a banner. God says, I saw the exchange that purchased the plan. I saw the message that promised reward upon your ruin. I now cancel the profit and return the price to its sender with the weight of consequence attached. Archangel Michael says, fear tries to speak with a convincing voice when doors are closed and lights are dim. Tonight fear loses its language around you. I place bright courage in your chest like a second heartbeat. God says, the person who ordered your death is already reading a different script. Their allies are withdrawing because truth makes poor company for treachery. The stage they prepared now refuses their footsteps. Archangel Michael says, your task is simple and strong. You will stand, you will breathe, and you will guard your peace like a sacred river. No stranger may drink from it without the blessing of heaven. God says, the snare is exposed and exposure ends the power of secrecy. When a spider web is revealed by morning light, it cannot pretend to be air. So it is with the plot around you this day. Archangel Michael says, I have walked the perimeter of your days and found every gap. I seal each opening with a line of fire that does not burn the righteous. You are escorted by presence, and presence does not fail. God says, you have felt watched and you were. But the watcher was not stronger than the one who watches over you. The watcher was merely loud, and loud does not equal lasting. Archangel Michael says, your discernment sharpens like a blade tempered in a holy forge. You will notice patterns that once slipped by like smoke. You will recognize the imitation of care that hides an appetite for harm. God says, I lift your eyes above the fear-shaped horizon. You will see the path that avoids their trap with the elegance of a solo crossing wind. This path is not narrow because you are weak, but because you are priceless. Archangel Michael says, let your spine learn the language of uprightness again. You have carried the weight of suspicion long enough. Now you carry clarity, and clarity walks lightly. God says, the meeting where the order was stamped is being reopened by justice. Witnesses are coming forward without being called by any human voice. I draw them by conscience and by consequence. Archangel Michael says, your house is under observation by heaven. The threshold is marked and the windows are named. Out enters must declare its indent and hides must leave. God says, you will sleep and you will wake and your waking will be calm. The dream that tried to frighten you will find no doorway. Peace will sit in the chair where dread kept watch. Archangel Michael says, there is a sound like the tearing of old fabric in the spirit. It is the sound of every false agreement ripping free from your life. The threads that tried to bind you cannot endure open sky. God says, I restore your timing. You will not arrive late to the place where your name is honored. You will not arrive early to the place where danger waits for a crowd. Archangel Michael says, your feet will take wise steps. Every footfall will become a small proclamation that you still belong here. The earth beneath you will answer with steadiness. God says, do not argue with shadows because shadows do not listen. Walk where the light is and the argument loses its audience. Walk where I send you and the enemy loses its map. Archangel Michael says, you are being repositioned without spectacle. Quiet adjustments will create loud safety. Small turns of the wheel will avoid large collision. God says, I am returning to you the hour stolen by anxiety. The breath you held too long will now flow. The tension in your hands will let go of invisible stones. Archangel Michael says, I have seen your kindness remain unadvertised. That privacy is now your protection because heaven records what people forget. Your record stands open in a court that does not accept brides. God says, the person who ordered your death has to face what they raised up. They imagined a harvest that would please them, but the field is empty and the soil resists. They stretch out their hands and find only wind. Archangel Michael says, there will be signs you can recognize. A conversation that once evaded truth will become direct. A door that once stuck will open with effortless motion. God says, I guard the borders of your purpose. I forbid trespass and I revoke every silent pass issued without my consent. Your future is not an abandoned property. Archangel Michael says, stand where you can hear your own heart. The rhythm inside you is not panic, it is purpose. Purpose beats in time with courage, not with fear. God says, I grant you new language for this season. You will speak from strength and not from injury. Your words will be clean and your boundaries will be bright. Archangel Michael says, the night around you is thinning. Dawn has not asked permission to arrive. Light takes its own counsel and the counsel is you will live. God says, I tilt the mirror so you can see yourself without distortion. You will not see a target. You will see a survivor graduating into a leader. Archangel Michael says, the story that began in danger will end in testimony. Your testimony will not center the villain. Your testimony will center the rescue. God says, you are not failing. You are crossing. There is a difference and heaven knows it. Archangel Michael says, let the air return to your lungs in full measure. Breathe deeply and stand exactly where you are supposed to stand. The ground is consecrated by the intention of God. God says, I bless the quiet decisions that kept you safe while you waited for clarity. Those decisions were not fear. They were wisdom disguised as caution. I now reward that wisdom with momentum. Archangel Michael says, your name has been a doorbell that dark hands pressed. Your ring goes unanswered now. Only those with peace may enter. God says, the attempt against you creates a record that will serve your protection later. The record is not for revenge. The record is for remembrance and for righteous boundary that cannot be talked away. Archangel Michael says, a message is traveling toward you and it carries proof. Proof ends the performance of actors who enjoyed the stage of your trust. Let the proof speak and keep your hands clean. God says, your next steps are guided. Turn your face toward the appointments that feel lined and leave behind the invitations that taste like old smoke. Peace will confirm your travel and presence will confirm your pauses. Archangel Michael says, your past will not be used to prosecute your present. The old mistakes have no authority here. The present carries a stamp that reads pardoned and protected. God says, I arrange the listening of those who need to hear you. You will not shout to be known. You will speak plainly and be understood. Archangel Michael says, delay is finished where it served no lesson. The delay that remains is protection disguised as patience. Accept it and your path becomes smooth. God says, I place helpers on corners you have not yet turned. Their faces look ordinary but their assignment is royal. They will not fail you because their strength is borrowed from me. Archangel Michael says, the fire that once menaced you has become a hedge. Flames stand between your life and the one who wished you hidden. The same fire warms you and warns them. God says, the report against you is being reversed, pages are turning on their own and the ink writes favor where condemnation once stood. The record keeper answers to me. Archangel Michael says, lift your eyes and let your shoulders remember they are not low-bearing beams for the world. You are not a house for everyone's storm. You are a lighthouse for your purpose and that is enough. God says, your sleep is part of your defense now. Rest without apology. Trust without theatrics. Archangel Michael says, the air around you is changing pressure. This is not a storm pressing in but a storm being pressed out. Feel the release and do not chase what is leaving. God says, I open a new window in your inner room. Through it comes a wind that carries the scent of clean beginnings. In that wind the plotter cannot breathe. Archangel Michael says, you will hear of conversations that once included your downfall and now include your deliverance. Let them speak while you build. Builders carry a music that drowns out gossip. God says, I bless what your hands touch when the touch is honest. I bless what your voice chooses when the choice is peaceful. I bless what your feet refuse when the path is corrupt. Archangel Michael says, your courage will feel different this time. It will not shout over fear. It will simply stand and fear will have nowhere to sit. God says, I place a sign on your spirit that the enemy can read though people cannot. It says untouchable by decree. It says alive by design. Archangel Michael says, the one who ordered your death ordered it from ignorance of your covenant. They touch a wire they could not see. The shock teaches what counsel could not. God says, the end of this chapter is not survival alone. The end is repositioning into wide ground. Wide ground suits your calling better than narrow alleys filled with conspirators. Archangel Michael says, take inventory of your peace each morning. Guard it like a flame in wind. Feed it with truth and it will not go out. God says, I plant loyal hearts in your circle. They will arrive without fanfare and stay without pretense. Their presence will feel like shade on a hot day. Archangel Michael says, the hidden arrows are being gathered up. They are snapped over my knee and fed to the fire. The archer is left holding nothing. God says, I am not finished protecting you because I am not finished promoting you. Protection and promotion travel together in my hand. You will not be raised up as a target but as a testimony. Archangel Michael says, raise your head. The sky above you is not crowded with doom. It is clean and it is wide and it is yours to walk beneath. God says, I bless this day with quiet certainty for you. You will move through it like a river that knows its destination. You will not be delayed by fallen branches from other people's storms. Archangel Michael says, step forward now. The room ahead is bright enough for your eyes. The shadows that tried to follow you have lost their edges. God says, I seal this with finality, no order against your life will stand in my court. The verdict is life, purpose, and long days. Archangel Michael says, take the next faithful action and trust that heaven has already taken 10 on your behalf. Your timeline is escorted. Your breath is counted as precious. God says, the story continues but the danger does not. Your future opens like a gate that recognizes its owner. Walk through and do not look back. Archangel Michael says, you are covered from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet. Your house is quiet. Your path is marked. Your name is safe. Go forward and live fully. God says, this is settled. You are here by my will and you remain by my word. Peace to your mind, strength to your bones, and light to your next step. Archangel Michael says, the emergency has become an announcement of protection. What rose against you has been lowered and what stood with you has been raised. The night is over for you and the day is honest. God says, if you must remember one thing, remember this. You are not at the mercy of those who plot. You are held by the one who plans. If you wish to express your support further, you have the option to give super thanks with contributions of up to $1.20. Archangel Michael says, the vigilance around your life intensifies as the hour turns. I place a living perimeter of watchful strength around your doors in your name. The same hand that shielded you in the dark now steadies you in the light. God says, the hidden hands that pushed this order forward are growing unsteady. Their intentions vibrate with exposure and exposure always shakes counterfeit courage. They begin to see there is no path past the wall I have set. Archangel Michael says, I lift the fog that tried to sit on your thinking like wet cloth. You will feel your mind clearing in layers, sharp as dew on early grass. When clarity arrives, indecision loses its chair. God says, I am not only stopping the plan but restoring the energy it tried to drain from you. Fatigue will loosen its grip and the quiet power you remember will return. You will look at ordinary hours and find them overflowing with capacity. Archangel Michael says, you will not second-guess the warnings that saved you. You will honor the wisdom that paused your step and closed your mouth. The restraint that preserved your life becomes the discipline that shapes your future. God says, you are not late. You are precisely on time for what I have written beyond this valley. The timeline mark for loss is now repurposed for learning and leverage. Archangel Michael says, I have entered rooms you will never have to visit. I have stood behind doors you will never have to open. I have answered questions you will never have to hear. God says, the one who ordered your death sought advantage through fear. The economy of fear collapses when love arrives with authority. I bankrupt that economy now and fund your days with assurance. Archangel Michael says, let the rhythm of your breathing train your body to expect peace. Every inhale carries permission to live and every exhale releases history's weight. The body remembers what the spirit celebrates. God says, documents exist with your name written wrongly. I correct the spelling of your destiny at the source where ink meets intention. Where your name was used as a target, it is now used as a testimony. Archangel Michael says, you will receive a call that feels like sunlight through blinds. It will not demand. It will confirm. It will not overwhelm. It will align. God says, I am moving one person out of your inner circle with gentle firmness. They will exit like a tide withdrawing from the shore, quiet, inevitable, purposeful. The space they leave invites what is loyal to mentor. Archangel Michael says, the story the enemy rehearsed falters on the first line. Their voice cracks under the weight of truth. The stage lights turn from them and search for you. God says, you will not be defined by the attempt against you. You will be defined by the protection over you. You will be recognized not by scars alone but by the steadiness that grew around them. Archangel Michael says, when you feel the old fear knocking, open the window of memory to the moment you were kept. Let that memory breathe in the room like sandalwood after rain. Let it say out loud, you survived and you're still appointed. God says, wisdom will come to you dressed in patience. You will not chase what writhe. You will move with what rings true. Your yes will be clean and your no will be kind. Archangel Michael says, the body of your purpose stands upright again. I fasten the belt of focus and place in your hands the tools you almost dropped. The work ahead will feel like alignment, not punishment. God says, I have already redeemed the geography of this season. Streets that once carried anxiety will carry resolve. Rooms that once hosted dread will host strategy. Archangel Michael says, you will notice beauty again in small places. A cup set down with care. A door held for a stranger, a sunrise that refuses to be dramatic and is stunning anyway. These will be your quiet confirmations that the siege has ended. God says, the person who warred your death begins to dream different dreams. In those dreams, the mirror they avoid learns to speak, reflection becomes teacher and teacher becomes consequence. Archangel Michael says, your boundaries are holy lines, not fences of bitterness. You will draw them without apology, paint them without hostility, and keep them without the acrylics. Those who love you will recognize the art in them. God says, I respect your pace. I place no performance on your healing. I ask only for agreement with life. Archangel Michael says, let your morning start with steadiness before speed. There is a way to move fast without being chased. There is a way to be efficient without being urgent. God says, I assign new favor to your name like a seal on an envelope. The message inside is worth protecting. The seal instructs handlers to take care. People will feel this and many will act accordingly. Archangel Michael says, you will not have to defend yourself to everyone. The need to explain will shrink. The peace to proceed will grow. God says, the rumors that carried your name begin to tire. They have run a long way without water. Truth is the river they cannot cross. Archangel Michael says, there is a gentle reordering of your priorities. What matters steps forward, what drains slides back. You will choose with calm conviction and your days will say thank you. God says, I reweave your sleep like becomes a soft tutor instead of a loud intruder. Lessons arrive as rest and rest arrives as strength. Archangel Michael says, the structure of your support is changing to match the weight of your calling. I reinforce beams you never noticed and retire beams that creak under pressure. What remains will hold. God says, fear often announces itself like breaking news. My peace arrives like resolved headlines. Live in the resolution, not the alarm. Archangel Michael says, your ears will begin to discern tone more than sentences. You will hear whether a heart is for you within the first kindness. You will answer invitations according to resonance, not flattery. God says, I am lighting the intersection ahead. What felt like a maze will look like a map. The route is not complicated. The stakes just made it feel that way. Archangel Michael says, I am instructing your feet to step past old snares with the grace of a dancer. Balance returns, elegance returns, quiet confidence returns. You will move like one who knows they are carried. God says, I bless your work to prosper without the noise of desperation. The rhythm of steady diligence will outlast the sprint of panic. Harvest meets patience, increase meets integrity. Archangel Michael says, the hands that tried to strip your end are emptying. Their pages burn at the edges and curl inward. When they look up, the audience has left. God says, I am not petty in protection. I am precise. I cut the rope at the knot, not at random. I end the plot where it was born, not where it was advertised. Archangel Michael says, you will handle simple tasks with reverence again. Washing the dish, folding the shirt, locking the door with a blessing in your breath. God says, you will see a sign in the ordinary. A number that kept meeting you at intersections will pause and let you pass. The clock you stared at during worry will show a kind hour. Archangel Michael says, I mend your confidence where it frayed at the edges. The mending is neat and the scene becomes a quiet beauty. You will admire the resilience more than the break. God says, I settle your relationships. The ones meant to stay will find their rhythm. The ones meant to leave will run out of reasons to linger. Archangel Michael says, there is a difference between secrecy and privacy. You will choose privacy and release secrecy. Privacy protects, secrecy poisons. God says, you do not need to curate an image for safety. You need only live in truth for strength. Truth is weight-bearing. Performance is heavy without support. Archangel Michael says, your discernment will not make you harsh. It will make you clear. Clarity wears kindness better than confusion ever could. God says, the calendar does not intimidate me. I arrange meetings on days that look empty. I cancel disasters on days that look full. Archangel Michael says, you will feel the ground return beneath decisions that once felt like air. The sense of falling ends. The sense of moving forward begins. God says, I lift guilt where it does not belong. Responsibility remains. Shame leaves. Correction stays. Condemnation dissolves. Archangel Michael says, the corridor of this test has windows. Look out and let perspective soften the fluorescent light. Outside, a faithful sky keeps its promises. God says, I am sending a quiet ally whose presence will feel familiar though you have never met. They will speak slowly and their words will land like seeds in good soil. Give those seeds time. They know what to do. Archangel Michael says, remember how you kept showing up for others. That seed returns as help at inconvenient, perfect moments. You will smile at the symmetry and call it grace. God says, the amount of peace required to carry your future is now being delivered in installments. Each day's deposit builds the account. Soon you will transact big decisions from abundance, not scarcity. Archangel Michael says, not every battle is yours and not every silence is surrender. You will choose where to stand and where to stay seated. Strategy becomes compassion, wearing armor. God says, I remove the phantom deadlines that pushed you into corners. The only urgency that remains is the urgency of care. Care for yourself, care for your country, care for your days. Archangel Michael says, your voice is returning to its natural register. No more speaking too softly to fit, no more speaking too loudly to be heard. Just the true sound, steady and sure. God says, I dignify your boundaries with favor. Those who test them will meet gentle firmness. Those who honor them will meet easy welcome. Archangel Michael says, joy re-enters as a guest who knows your house. It will not knock loudly. It will set bread on the table and ask you to eat. God says, the question behind your ribs whether you are safe to plan receives its answer. Plan and color. Leave margins for surprises I enjoy sending. Archangel Michael says, your steps will touch places your fear avoided. You will be surprised by how normal the ground feels. The terror was a rumor that ran out of breath. God says, your name will appear in a favorable sentence where it once appeared in a doubtful one. The pen has changed hands. The narrative has changed lanes. Archangel Michael says, you will carry yourself with quiet authority. Not the noise of victory, the presence of it. Rooms will adjust without anyone announcing why. God says, I prune opportunities that look grand but demand your soul as payment. You will learn the sound of deals that breathe and deals that choke. Choose air. Archangel Michael says, the time you spend in honest rest is not wasted. It is bricklaying for resilience. It is oil for the lamp that must burn long. God says, I deliver a memory from your childhood to your present, a small, clean happiness. Let it remind the adult you that you are still mine. Let it restore the softness that duty tried to harden. Archangel Michael says, the road that turns soon will not be a trap door. It will be an invitation. You will pivot without fear because purpose waits around corners too. God says, I confirm your instincts about a certain environment where your shoulders tense unreasonably. Decline, where your breath opens, explore. Archangel Michael says, healing will give you new language for gratitude. Not dramatic, not performative. Yes, thankfulness that breathes easy. God says, your wisdom will be misread as luck by some. Let them misread, you will know the hours behind the insight and the prayers behind the timing. Archangel Michael says, your home is learning a new sound. Fewer alarms, more laughter. Fewer hurried steps, more unhurried meals. God says, I am erasing the map the enemy used to find you. Their directions now lead to empty fields and locked gates. Your path is hidden in plain sight by favor. Archangel Michael says, when the message arrives that tries to bake you into chaos, answer with silence and forward motion. Silence is not weakness, it is weaponized wisdom. Motion is not escape, it is alignment. God says, the power of this season is subtle and strong. It is not fireworks, it is sunrise. It grows brighter while you go about your day. Archangel Michael says, you will recognize the difference between adrenaline and anointing. Adrenaline shouts and fades, anointing whispers and stays. Choose what says. God says, I place mentors in your path who teach by presence more than by speech. Watch how they carry peace into rooms. Learn that posture and make it your own. Archangel Michael says, the fear of disappointing others will not outrank the call to protect yourself. You will choose your health without guilt. This is not selfishness, this is stewardship. God says, I open a window of recompense. Not spectacle, restoration. What was drained returns in wiser forms. Archangel Michael says, your heart will not rehearse imaginary disasters to feel prepared. It will rehearse faith to feel anchored. Cooperation will look like trust plus more consistent actions. God says, I will show you how to let go without losing love. Release is not rejection. It is respect for timing. Some things ripen elsewhere and return better. Archangel Michael says, there is music assigned to your steps this month, it is quiet but undeniable. Let it set your pace and protect you from hurry. God says, the apology you never received will no longer be the key to your freedom, freedom was never on that ring. I had the key the whole time and I hand it to you now. Archangel Michael says, let the mirror of this season reflect a face that trusts its guardian, you are not naive. You are covered. You are not fragile. You are focused. God says, when you speak about this later, you will do it without tremor. You will describe facts and holler at rescue. The room will feel relief while you speak. Archangel Michael says, the ground under your purpose is fertile again. Plant ideas you had placed in storage. Water them with unglorious consistency. God says, I settle accounts where you were underpaid in peace. I issue back pay in clarity and stamina. You will spend it on what matters and feel rich in the right ways. Archangel Michael says, a simple ritual will anchor your mornings. A glass of water, a stretch toward the window, a word of alignment. Repeat it until your spirit associates the day with steadiness. God says, I will surprise you with a path that uses both your tenderness and your tenacity. You were never meant to choose between them. Together they are your signature. Archangel Michael says, when memories visit with heavy shoes, ask them to remove them at the door. Only clean-footed recollections may walk your halls. This house is yours and it is sacred. God says, the person behind the order will discover the emptiness of winning by fear. It is a kind of victory that eats its own. They will feel the hunger and choose differently or wither. Archangel Michael says, forgive where it frees you, not where it binds you. Forgiveness is a release of debt, not a lease of access. Keep your keys. God says, laughter will be your proof that the siege is over. It will come without rehearsal. You will notice it like rain on a roof after drought. Archangel Michael says, your legacy survived the night. It now asks for your attention, not your panic. Give it time and honest work. God says, you will never know all the hazards I removed. That is mercy. What you will know is the sweetness of ordinary safety. Treasure it without apology. Archangel Michael says, we are not finished. We are faithful. I will keep the perimeter while you keep the purpose. Let this division of labor stand. God says, take the next right step. Then the one after that. Keep your eyes on the light I place in front of your feet, not the noise that gathers behind your back. Archangel Michael says, your endurance has matured into quiet authority. Wear it like a well-tailored coat, useful, dignified, unforced. It fits you now. God says, this chapter closes without suspenseful music because peace prefers honest silence. Let the page turn. Let the room exhale. Archangel Michael says, go forward. Keep what kept you, release what drained you, bless what built you. Live the rest of this day as if you are meant to be here because you are. Archangel Michael says, the circle of protection around you widens like dawn opening its arms to a quiet hill. Your name rises inside that light with the steadiness of a promise that refuses to fracture. I stand beside you and the air takes notice. God says, I am writing the margins of your days so they hold more grace than noise. You will feel space return to your schedule like rain returning to a riverbed. In that space, strength grows without spectacle. Archangel Michael says, you will soon sense a soft shift in rooms that once felt heavy. The air will no longer press against your ribs like an argument you never chose. The air will agree with your survival and cooperate with your future. God says, the one who set the order against you built a house on a fault line. Their plans tremble because truth has moved under their feet. The tremor is mercy if they listen and a lesson if they refuse. Archangel Michael says, I am instructing your steps to be beautifully ordinary and powerfully precise. You will not have to perform safety to have it. You will simply live and be kept. God says, I return the colors you stopped noticing. The cup of tea that tastes like relief. The quiet street at golden hour. The laugh that lands exactly where it should. Let these be your daily confirmations. Archangel Michael says, your spirit will start to hunger for clean conversations. Maps without manipulation. Sentences without traps. Answers without hooks. Feed that hunger and watch your world simplify. God says, a door you considered but did not choose is closing without regret. It was never yours and it knows that now. Your path thanks you for the refusal you thought was indecision. Archangel Michael says, memory will try to audition as a director in your mind. It will wave old scenes and demand a role it no longer deserves. Kindly dismiss it and keep the script heaven handed you. God says, I settle you in a posture that confuses fear. You will be quiet without being small and bold without being loud. Fear has no strategy for that balance. Archangel Michael says, the corridor ahead is bright enough for detail and wide enough for growth. You will not bump your shoulders on narrow expectations. You will move like a river through honest ground. God says, I place a witness to your preservation in an unexpected place. Their words will close an argument you never wanted to host. Let their testimony do its work while you do yours. Archangel Michael says, you will feel a tug to tidy certain corners of your life, not as punishment, as preparation. Clarity loves clean surfaces because it spreads better there. God says, I restore your appetite for possibility. Panic once made even simple plans feel like puzzles missing pieces. Now the pieces are returned and your hands remember how to build. Archangel Michael says, you will recognize the counterfeit by its pace. It rushes, it flatters, it presses with a smile. The authentic invites, steadies, and waits. God says, I am lifting the fog off your inner compass. The needle has always known home but the haze hid the markers. Now you will see and seeing will calm you. Archangel Michael says, watch how relief arrives like a friend taking off their shoes at your door. It does not demand confetti. It sits with you and helps you breathe. God says, the apology you never received is losing its power over your decisions. You will no longer budget your joy around someone else's silence. That economy is closed and your account is moving. Archangel Michael says, your boundaries will become beautiful sentences. Yes, spoken with warmth. No, spoken with peace. God says, I will send you a small kindness that looks like coincidence. It will land at the exact minute your heart asks for evidence. Do not argue with the timing. Let it wash your doubt. Archangel Michael says, the watchers grow bored when their whispers do not move you. Let boredom do its slow work. They will face their own empty rooms. God says, I am teaching you to enjoy the intermissions between breakthroughs. Sit in the quiet and realize it is not absence. It is oil. The next act glows brighter because you rested. Archangel Michael says, your courage does not need caffeine anymore. It runs on conviction and breathes on schedule. Panic can no longer trick it with alarms. God says, I am making your discernment gentle to yourself and firm with danger. You will not apologize to threats for leaving. You will not punish yourself for learning. Archangel Michael says, you will notice that your laughter returns in full notes. It will not sound defensive. It will sound like a window open to honest weather. God says, the plot against you became the platform beneath you. Not to glorify harm, but to demonstrate keeping. You will stand on what tried to bury you and call it by its new name foundation. Archangel Michael says, you will gather simple rituals that anchor big days. Water first, light next, breath always. These will be your quiet armor. God says, I am sending a message through someone with steady eyes. They will not traffic in drama. They will speak one clean paragraph and you will sleep better. Archangel Michael says, let kindness remain your first language without making it your only strategy. Add clarity and you speak fluently. Add boundaries and you speak wisely. God says, I unhook your mind from rehearsing worst-case performances. Your imagination is too powerful to be rented to fear. I repossess it for wonder and direction. Archangel Michael says, the steps you take into the next room will feel like walking into air already warm for you. The preparation happened while you healed. Your only job is to enter. God says, the person who ordered your end meets the mirror of consequence. I prefer transformation to punishment. If they choose transformation, let them travel far from your gates in peace. Archangel Michael says, you will stop mistaking adrenaline for alignment. One exhausts, the other equips. Choose the current that still lets you hear yourself think. God says, I have arranged that your name be spoken in rooms that do not require you to shrink to fit. When those invitations arrive, answer with honesty and rest. Opportunity can feel like home when it is clean. Archangel Michael says, your hands will remember their craft without trembling. The work that once shook now steadies. The table is set and your tools are blessed. God says, I will use an ordinary day to deliver an extraordinary certainty. No trumpet, only truth. You will look up and realize fear forgot your address. Archangel Michael says, release the habit of narrating your value to people committed to misunderstanding you. Your hearing is not your job. Your peace is. God says, I set your pace so your purpose will have the muscles it needs for distance. Sprints impress crowds. Endurance completes destiny. We are not here to impress. Archangel Michael says, beauty will find you doing dishes and paying bills. It will prove that wonder lives indoors as easily as it lives on mountaintops. Let that proof deepen you. God says, I bless your yes to boundaries with new brightness in your calendar. Light space becomes sacred stays. Creativity takes a chair where chaos once sprawled. Archangel Michael says, do not fear the smallness of beginnings that arrive after survival. Small is not a demotion. It is a clean start. Small has room to breathe. God says, I exchange your habit of bracing for your habit of receiving a heart that never unclenches, never heals. Open your hand and let the good weight rest there. Archangel Michael says, your discernment will whisper before danger shouts. Trust the whisper. The shout will be late, God says, I will place a person nearby whose quiet integrity feels like shade. Learn from their cadence. Let their steadiness teach your days how to walk. Archangel Michael says, when memories arrive with sirens, escort them to the balcony of perspective. From there, Even their sharp edges soften. You will wave kindly and return to the present. God says, I am not merely protecting you from a plot. I am maturing you into a posture. That posture will carry you through seasons where there is no plot, only purpose. Keep it when times are easy so it is natural when times are not. Archangel Michael says, you will witness a reversal that requires no announcement. A door that would not budge will slide open as if it was always waiting for this minute. Walk through without ceremony and let the future close it gently behind you. God says, compassion remains your superpower but discernment is your steering wheel. Hold bow. Drive well. Archangel Michael says, the air over your bed will sleep like a lake tonight. Still, deep, reflecting stars you cannot see with your eyes. Let that stillness teach your bones to trust again. God says, I preserve your reputation without requiring you to campaign for it. The truth has feet. It walks farther than gossip. Archangel Michael says, the storm that gathered against you underestimated your roots. Those roots ran deeper than the plotter's patience. Roots win. God says, you will simplify a decision this week that once felt impossible. You will choose peace over pressure, clarity over crowd, and health over hurry. The earth will answer that choice with favor. Archangel Michael says, you will notice that your body stops rehearsing flinches. Doors will close and you will not jump. Voices will rise and you will not shrink. God says, I am threading joy directly into your concentration. Focus will no longer feel like a punishment cell. It will feel like a garden with things quietly growing. Archangel Michael says, when you speak of this season, you will not center the villain or the fear. You will center the rescue and the rebuilding. That is how you reclaim the narrative and keep your peace. God says, the next person who asks for your story will receive the version that frees you to live, not the version that binds you to the past. You will tell the truth without reliving the trap. That is maturity and mercy together. Archangel Michael says, your circle will reduce without loneliness. The room will hold fewer chairs and more light. Those who remain will understand the assignment. God says, I turn pressure into prescience. What pressed you becomes the tool that shapes your focus. You will craft with it, not suffer under it. Archangel Michael says, do not apologize for surviving with wisdom. Let your standards remain bright. Let your doors open inward before they open outward. God says, there is a small envelope of unexpected kindness traveling toward you. It carries no strings, only sincerity. Receive it without rehearsing suspicion. Archangel Michael says, the mirror will greet you with truth that does not bruise. You will see scars as maps, not advertisements. You will see eyes that stay in kind. God says, I make a covenant with your mornings. They will offer you quiet before headlines and breath before tasks. Meet them like an old friend. Archangel Michael says, the habit of bracing for the worst will fade like a muscle you stop overusing. Other muscles will grow: curiosity, gratitude, presence. These will carry you farther. God says, your peace will begin to lead you like a shepherd. Where it stops, you stop. Where it walks, you follow. Archangel Michael says, you will receive a gentle nudge to let one more thing go. It will not feel like loss, it will feel like taking off a coat that doesn't fit this weather. God says, I am placing a soft sign in your path that only you will recognize. It will not need confirmation from others to be true. It will ring inside your chest like a tuning fork finding its note. Archangel Michael says, celebration will return to your calendar without needing an occasion. The occasion is breath. The reason is life. God says, I consecrate your planning table. Tens that once root from panic will rife from poise. Notes that once smelled like urgency will smell like clarity. Archangel Michael says, the watchers and whisperers will move on to other stories when they cannot change yours. Let them leave. Your focus is not a public square. God says, I plant strength in your quiet choices. Yearning of the light on time. Drinking water. Speaking kindly to yourself. These are gates through which greatness walks. Archangel Michael says, your steps are not counted by loudness but by alignment. Stay aligned and even small steps travel far. Stay aligned and even pauses move mountains. God says, the trial against you has become a training within you. You now carry tools you did not have before. Use them softly and they will last a lifetime. Archangel Michael says, when the next shadow tries your door, it will find it marked. Not with fear, with fire. Fire that warms you and warns it. God says, I seal this continuation with a quiet sturdiness you can feel in your shoulders. A lower by a breath you did not know you were holding. Keep that breath and keep moving kindly. Archangel Michael says, you are cleared to proceed. Not because danger never existed, but because protection never left. Walk on and let the earth learn your new rhythm. Archangel Michael says, the hour that once threatened you is now employed by your rescue. It works for your good with tireless precision and reports to me before the sun even thinks to rise. Your timeline breathes easier because heaven holds the clock. God says, I fold the map of confusion until only the path of peace remains visible. You will trace it with steady fingers and find each turn already blessed. The route ahead honors your survival with room to grow. Archangel Michael says, I am exchanging your habit of bracing for a practice of receiving. The muscles that clench will learn softness without losing strength. This softness will carry more weight than panic ever did. God says, the person who ordered your death underestimated the carpentry of your character. You were built with beams that come from storms and seasons, not applause. Beams like those cannot be purchased or broken on command. Archangel Michael says, the watchers at a distance will discover that distance cannot deliver outcomes. They will learn that proximity to truth is a better teacher than proximity to power. Their lessons will arrive quietly and you will not need to attend. God says, I will bring a letter of release into your hands in due course. It will not shout, but it will end a chapter. You will read it once, breathe twice, and feel 3 burdens slide off your shoulders. Archangel Michael says, I appoint a stillness to sit in your room like a guardian with gentle eyes. His presence will outlast the loudest memory of fear. Where it sits, panic cannot take a chair. God says, your boundaries become a living covenant. They speak for you when silence is wiser than speech. They stand for you when stepping away is the bravest movement. Archangel Michael says, I put quiet courage in your pockets for ordinary errands. You will find it when keys jingle, when doors open, when sidewalks stretch like patient friends. Courage that simple never runs out. God says, you will soon encounter a threshold that recognizes you. It will not test you with riddles or threats. It will swing open because it knows your name and your season. Archangel Michael says, the archives of this battle are sealed in heaven, not to be reopened for spectacle. What you need is kept, what would wound is bearing. Carry the summary, not the archive. God says, I shift the soundtrack of your days from sirens to strings. The music of resolution will replace the rhythm of alarms. Your heart will keep time with restoration. Archangel Michael says, I have instructed the night not to trespass into your morning. Dawn is sacred and will arrive unaccompanied by dread. Meet it as a friend and let it teach your breath. God says, there is a kindness coming toward you with no agenda. It will not borrow a future favor or sell you a hidden hook. Receive it and let your nervous system learn a new definition of safe. Archangel Michael says, your words will carry weight without carrying weapons. You will speak firmly without cutting, clearly without crowding, kindly without caving. This is how a healed voice sounds. God says, I will honor your restraint with opportunities that honor you. Your no has made room for a better yes. The better yes arrives with clean hands. Archangel Michael says, the places that once felt narrow will reveal hidden breadth. A room is larger when it is honest. Honesty is architecture you can trust. God says, I authorize you to rest without asking permission from anxiety. Rest is not an indulgence, it is infrastructure. Without it, even victories collapse. Archangel Michael says, your attention is a sacred currency, spend it on what multiplies life. The market of fear offers flash sales and leaves you empty-handed. Walk past those neon signs and keep your coins. God says, I recalibrate your appetite for meaning over noise. Meaning will taste slower and satisfy longer. Noise will taste sweet and leave you tired. Archangel Michael says, when you feel history knock, greet it with a nod and keep moving. You are not a museum for pain, you are a workshop for purpose. Tools and where trophies used to hang, God says, a new chapter does not erase an old one, it redeems it. Even the jagged sentences become footnotes to wisdom. You will read them without shaking. Archangel Michael says, trust the way your body relaxes around truth. The shoulders know before the mind admits. Let that wisdom speak softly and lead timely. God says, I return to you the delight of planning without dread. Calendar squares become fields you get to tend, not minds you have to cross. You will write in them with a pen that does not scratch. Archangel Michael says, the shadow that once followed you lost interest when you stopped performing fear. Attention is its diet. You fed it nothing and it grew thin. God says, your circle will refine itself until conversation feels like fresh air. Where manipulation once perched, clarity will sit. Where pity once drained, respect will pour back. Archangel Michael says, I remove the false urgency that disguised itself as importance. What is truly important can stand still long enough to be chosen. You will choose with peace and walk with pace. God says, I will place a small sign on an ordinary day to confirm your direction. It may look like a timely helping hand, a sentence that lands right, or a door that opens without squeak. Signs like that eliminate the need for arguments, Archangel Michael says. You owe no performance to those who engineered your pain. Your living well is not an act for their audience. It is a covenant with your calling. God says, I steady the bridge between your present and your promise. It will not sway with gossip or bend under accusation. Your steps will sound like certainty on that wood. Archangel Michael says, let gratitude be practical. Drink water. Step outside. Name 3 quiet things that stayed. Practical gratitude exhausts panic. God says, the one who ordered your end will face a crossroads that speaks in the language of consequence. If they choose the narrow path of truth, let them go that way without your commentary. If they choose the familiar ditch, let them dig without your shovel. Archangel Michael says, the bravery you practiced has formed a habit. Habit becomes culture inside a soul. Your culture now is courage with kindness. God says, I will knit rest into your productivity so output no longer steals from well-being. What you build will not devour you. What you keep will not keep you from yourself. Archangel Michael says, when opportunities arrive, test their gravity. The real ones hold you without binding you. The counterfeit ones pin you with compliments until you cannot breathe. God says, I recover a dream you packed away for safety. Unwrap it without apology. It matured in the dark and it is ready for daylight. Archangel Michael says, your sleep will deepen not because you are exhausted but because you are safe. Safety is the heaviest blanket. He warms the future until it softens. God says, I untangle the association between love and thread inside your memory. Love will no longer sound like footsteps in a hallway at midnight. Love will sound like a key that turns gently and a voice that asks softly if you're home. Archangel Michael says, the craft of your life requires new tools. Some will be patience shaped like a hammer. Some will be clarity shaped like a level. Use them until straight lines appear. God says, I reconcile your inner seasons. Winter will not interrupt summer without your consent. Spring will arrive on time because you no longer argue with joy. Archangel Michael says, your discernment is not suspicion. It is stewardship. Stewardship keeps gardens healthy and doors honest. Practice it until it feels natural. God says, the narrative has turned and it will not turn back. Even if old voices attempt a reprise, the audience has moved on. Truth closed the plattle. Archangel Michael says, I bless the thresholds of your home. May each of it carry purpose and each entry carry peace. May every window remember it is a frame for light. God says, I will send you a brief message that clarifies a complex decision. It will be simple without being simplistic. It will be light without being shallow. Archangel Michael says, there is a dignity to how you survive that needs no speech. Let the way you stand tell it. Let the way you rest prove it. God says, do not rent your attention to catastrophes you cannot change. Lease it to creation to care to craft. Ownership belongs to peace. Archangel Michael says, your steps will learn the rhythm of mercy toward yourself. You will not punish yourself for previous blindness. You will thank yourself for present sight. God says, the future you feared is not coming. The future you built with quiet decisions is already at the door. Open and let it in. Archangel Michael says, I canceled the invitation that dread keeps trying to resent. Its RSVP is returned unopened. Your table is full of better guests. God says, you will meet a companion to your purpose, a person or practice that strengthens your steadiness. It will not be noisy. It will be necessary. Archangel Michael says, keep your rituals small and faithful like watered breath word. Repeat until the soul knows home. God says, I am not done being kind to you. Kindness is not a phase. It is my nature. Expect it like sunrise and honor it like rain. Archangel Michael says, the season of explaining your boundaries to those committed to breaking them is over. Let the door speak. Doors are eloquent when they close. God says, I settle your accounts with peace so thoroughly that chaos cannot find a foothold. The arithmetic of your days will balance and rest. You will end more evenings with enough. Archangel Michael says, where shame once tried to shade your vision, honor will now stand. Honor that does not boast. Honor that does not beg. Honor that simply is. God says, when you tell this story later, tell it like a map for those still inside their night, leave out the ethics. Include directions. Love them with landmarks. Archangel Michael says, your strength will prefer quiet rooms to loud stages. Quiet rooms build nations inside a soul. From there, your public life will carry private wholeness. God says, the verdict remains. You live, you flourish, you continue. This is not fragile or tentative. It is seated and settled. Archangel Michael says, I keep post while you practice joy. I circle your borders while you plant small flags of gratitude. This partnership is permanent. God says, your tomorrow is not a cliff. It is a meadow. Walk it with unhurried courage. Let the wind say what it has been waiting to say. You are safe to grow. Archangel Michael says, take this moment and name it enough. Enough to breathe deeply. Enough to choose wisely. Enough to rest completely. God says, I sign this continuation with a peace that will not leak. It will hold through headlines, schedules, and the echoes of old rooms. Wear it like a garment that fits at last. Archangel Michael says, go on. The road recognizes your steps. The sky recognizes your face. The earth recognizes your assignment and answers with steadiness.